Okay, so for the tranny lines, this is what I'm going to do. There's two holes that are on the side of the 8HP70 transmission. They are not tapped though, okay? Because the factory has some type of, when you put the heater, there's like some of them have the heater on the side of the block to heat the fluid, and it's just kind of like some rubber bushings that keep the heater, and you know, and they go between the heater and the transmission, so it's more of just kind of like press fit ish, you know what I mean, because the heater will bolt in, but there's no threads. Okay, so I'm gonna tap it with 18 1.5. I mean, I guess I could have ordered just one by itself online, but here in town I couldn't find just the one. Jeep Speed Shops uses, you know, standard tap, but everything else on this vehicle is metric. And plus, if I'm gonna buy a whole kit, I'm gonna buy a metric kit, because that's pretty much everything that I work with is metric anyway. So so anyway, 18 1.5 is what I'm gonna thread it at. The hole is 17-ish millimeters, but it says 18, but it's, you got to measure what the circumference is, or the width, the diameter of this is under the teeth. I mean, behind the teeth, not at the top of the teeth. It's back of the teeth. Okay, where the shaft part is, not the thread part, from what I understand. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap the hole, and then what's gonna happen is these two right here. So let me take this off right here. So I got this fitting here. Okay, that's gonna go into the transmission. Okay, this will screw into the transmission, and then this will go out of the transmission. So it'll go like this. Okay, then we'll use the hydraulic line. It'll go between, so the soft line will go between the transmission and then the cooler bypass unit here. So what this does, so on both sides, and then here, I'll show you this in a second. So what this does, if you guys don't know, this transmission's fluid operating temperature needs to be at a certain temperature. So what this does is, there's like a valve in here, so if it's too cold, it'll just kind of recirculate the fluid back into the transmission without going to the cooler. Okay, and then when it gets hot enough, it'll open up the valve so that it can go to the cooler and then back through to the transmission, so cool it down, so it wants to keep it at a certain temperature. That's pretty much what it is. So these are the representations of my hard lines that'll go, because these are, I did cut these off. So what these are is, hold on, let me get these off. I'll show you. So there it is. A piece here that you just slip on, right? You slip onto the, here, let me see, let me set the little tripod up here so you can see. So let me try to hold it. Okay, so you got these two here, right? So what you're going to do is you slip on a nut here, and then you take this beveled edge, put it to the back. Okay, and then you just take this and you just screw it on, and you tighten it as hard as you can, because then what that'll do is that'll press fit. Okay, you will cut these lines with brake, kind of like a brake line cutter. Just make sure you get one that's big enough. This one I was kind of pulling on the line, so it kind of deformed the lines. You got to make sure when you cut them that you're not bending or tweaking them. Just let the tool cut it so you don't get that. I'm not using this in any way. It was just more to make sure that I got the right fittings. So there you go. And that's what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go tap it, and then I'll start measuring my lines. I do not have a hydraulic line crimper, but I guess you can do this with AN fittings too. You know, these hydraulic line ones are expensive, but less likely to leak also, I'm assuming, because it's more for industrial. I bought this separate. The part number is right here, 5511105 AC. I bought this. This was what, 60 bucks. Excuse the noise back there. This is about 60 bucks from the factory. I'm just using the OEM one. There are aftermarket ones that will replace these in the trucks. If they replace them in the trucks, you know, you'll be able to replace them, you know, replace them in these lines if you want to upgrade to one too, or use a different one. It'll still work, because all you're going to do really is you're going to trim your hard lines based off of where your soft lines are, and that's all I'm going to do. Is I'm going to measurement my soft lines, figure out where I want this, and then adapt my hard lines to this, something like that. It might change a little bit, but that's the plan. So let me get to tapping. So in there, how I plugged it, you see that blue in there, is what I did is I took a washer that was just a little bit smaller than the hole, about 16 millimeters. And then I just put tape around it, and I left these little lips on so I could pull them out with tweezers. And I stuffed it in there, and hopefully that's gonna work, but that's how I did it. And that one is threaded out. Just gotta pull that out here, make sure that it's as clean as possible and we don't get nothing in the little holes. I also have to thread that top one, but that's how it goes. I just want to show you how I plugged it. Just took a washer with some tape, stuffed it in there, and hopefully that works. All right, guys. I'm gonna turn down my radio, pause it, forget. All right, so what we're gonna do, so I know this is the ZF transmission, and you're supposed, everybody uses the dealership fluid from ZF, but it's going to cost me 280 something bucks for the fluid. Okay, a lot of people use the Valvoline Max Life, and on the list of vehicles, this has a list of what vehicles it can and transmissions it uses for, and one of them is listed is the ZF transmissions. So this right here costed me like 80 something bucks, probably about 85 bucks for 3 of them, because you're gonna need 9 to fill it up. But my cooler's empty, you know, because everything's been changed, and like the transmission is completely out of fluid. There's none, you know, because a lot of it is leaked out with me turning it over and doing the valve body and all that stuff. We've lost more than just if it was being serviced. So I got, there's what, 4 quarts here, 4 quarts there. I bought 3 of these, right? So it'd be, give me 12. Give me plenty of amount. So then I got this little Roundup sprayer, about 14-15 bucks. And these nozzles here are usually straight. What I did is I just softly bent it, and then I went over to the stove and I just gently heated it, and then just bent it and contoured it so I could just stick it in there and go psh, and keep it pressured with this, and just on and off, on and off. That's it. And then I just let it, get back to temperature, and now it's, that's the position it's going to be in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in. My truck is on a hill, so I had to raise up the back end. Had to raise the back end up to level as much as I can of the transmission, because the fill plug is in the back. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill this up into here, connect this up, and then go and I'll meet you guys underneath the truck. Okay, so I lost some more videos on these transmission lines. Sorry about that, but here is what I ended up doing. So the bypass valve that you see there and the hard lines that are going to the cooler, I took those out. I kept those 90s right there, and I ran those to a soft line, through a soft line to all the way to the front. I went through the driver's side of lower driver's side of the engine, underneath the motor mount, and then it went to the cooler up front. Pretty much the same path as the OE path of what the transmission cooler line's done. Now, after it's all done, and seeing other, like the Jeep Speed Shop and them doing these swaps, is that I should have just got the, I can't remember the year, but one of the Jeep setups is that it goes under the transmission to the passenger side, and then through the passenger side to the front. Maybe that might have been a better path, but I did it this way, made some soft lines, and I put a protective covering over the soft line, which is kind of like a braided heat, a heat hose covering. So I just did that to protect it of any vibration, anything like that. And so the vibration, is it going to tear through? I don't know. We'll have to wait for that. Also, too, is on the fluid that we changed, I just followed all the procedures that you normally would go through to fill it up. You can look that up. So that's pretty much how I had it set up, and now it works fine. No leaks. Everything, transmission runs fine. So it does work, and I did miss those videos, but you can either run if you're in a colder climate, that bypass valve you're probably going to need. But here I'm in, Albuquerque, New Mexico. It doesn't get that cold, where it's going to be crucial for me to need it. So that is the end of this for the transmission lines. If you have any questions, just make a comment down below. Subscribe for the rest of the 8-speed swap and Hemi swap.